feel like Kobe in the fourth quarter.
This is the Dane Moore NBA podcast. We are brought to you by Prize Picks, coming at you Wednesday evening. It's November 5th after the Wolves' 23-point loss to the Knicks. Anthony Edwards returned from his hamstring injury for this game. Julius Randle had 30 points again. Wolves nearly shot 50% from three again, but they lost this game because of the defense. The rebounding was even worse than the defense, and they kept turning it over. I'm joined here at Madison Square Garden by Chris Hine from the Star Tribune. We're just going to do what we did after the last episode with just some immediate reactions from the game. Chris, in this game, we have Anthony Edwards return to discuss. Let's just jump right in right there and talk about, I guess, first, just what stood out to you most about Ant's return. Obviously, it was not a strong, resounding. He didn't have a 40-point game at Madison Square Garden. What stood out?
I thought that this is how it could go in his first game, because when he's kind of come back from, he's never missed a lot of time, but when he's come back from, like, whether it's missing 2 games, 3 games, whatever, I think he generally tends to have kind of rusty performances, or at least when he tries to shoot, he shoots a low percentage or non-efficient offense, so to speak. So I was expecting that, and that's what we got. We ended up seeing him defer early and often, which, I mean, listen, the offense was humming early, so it looked like he was making the right plays in that regard, but it wasn't getting him into a rhythm on offense, which I think was important for later stages of the game. I
think that was the thing.
Yeah.
Like the ball was moving and it's popping in that first 6 minutes. They're loading up on Ant. They have that beautiful ball movement possession, and then they get about 5-6 minutes into the game, and Ant's like, I don't have any. Yeah. And I felt like that's what kind of stopped the ball movement, and he started seeking his own stuff.
You're right, and that's where the rubber can meet the road sometimes with this offense. Is okay, Ant is such a great individual playmaker, but then you see that possession, that one possession that ended with the Julius right wing 3, and it's just like, there it is. That's like, put that on a loop and frame it, and for how they want to play basketball. But
that'll make the film session tomorrow.
Right, that'll make the film session tomorrow for sure. But to your point, it doesn't always engage your best player, so to speak. I thought it was notable that he came up guarding Brunson as well.
Yep.
And I don't know how much of it is first game back from the hamstring, but I think it's notable that we've seen Ant talk about wanting to take on more of these defensive matchups. But we know that sometimes with that can come a cost of the offensive end of the floor. Like, there's only a finite amount of energy. Where do you spend it, right? There's not an infinite amount of energy.
Or even just bumps and stuff.
Yeah.
Defending, like,
so if you're playing hard on the defensive end of the floor, can you also go 100 miles an hour on the offensive end of the floor when the team needs it? Do you have the legs to hit your shots? All those things.
Maybe not when you're coming back.
Maybe not when you're coming back from a hamstring injury, right? So something to watch going forward if he does this, because I do think, and I'll be writing this for the Star Tribune, this team needs perimeter defense from Anthony Edwards. It needs very good to elite defense from him, as currently constructed with the way they're playing defense. They don't have the luxury that they had the last 2 years of letting him rest, quote unquote, as much on the defensive end of the floor. They need him to lock in on the defensive end of the floor on a nightly basis. And he can't let that affect the offensive end of the floor or his shooting or everything that goes with it. And so tonight was an example of maybe taking Brunson early in the game also maybe contributed to what happened offensively. I don't think that can be dismissed.
Yeah, no, I don't think it can be dismissed. I think it's an example. It's not a proof.
Right.
We're not there yet. We don't know what the bounds of Ant's ability to do defensively and offensively simultaneously is. What we do know about this team so far this season is they need more defense.
Yes.
And they do need that from Ant, kind of regardless of whatever the cost is of that. He ends the game, or I wrote this down when he checked out of the game with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Wolves are down by 17. and Ant himself was a -25.
Right.
Which he'd played 29 minutes, meaning the Wolves at that point, when Ant checked out for the night, game's over, had won the game by 8 points. The Wolves were winning with Ant off the floor in this game. So it's not, you're not putting the loss on Ant, but I think we can put the loss on this team needs to find itself within Ant as it spent the last week and a half kind of finding itself. Without Ant, there's some gaps here that they can fill.
It's kind of a herky jerky start to the season. It's like you're playing training camp one way, everything runs through Ant. Okay, you feel like you have a rhythm coming into the season. You don't start the season quite the way you want. You're trying to figure things out, and then especially on the defensive end, then Ant gets hurt, and you have to kind of play a different way for a week. Now he's back, and can you pick up where you left off,
especially at the beginning of the year?
They're professional athletes. It's the NBA. Everybody deals with stuff, right? So no excuses, but that's kind of what you got to work through here is because he is such an important part to the team on both ends of the floor. Not having him there and then having him there, it's like two different versions of this team. I think.
I think too, an important part of this game is the attention that they were paying him. I don't think it felt kind of like the playoffs type of setup where if you set a screen, the big blitz, there's two guys on. I remember how he kept feeding Rudy over and over again at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
The doubles are there. It's because the gap help is there. So it wasn't an easy game for Ant to just kind of get it how he normally gets it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was one of those situations where you had to like punish him getting doubled first to then kind of be able to fall back into it.
Did you catch the quote that he had post game about the double teams? I thought it was. I actually asked him about the defense because I asked him kind of about what we were just talking about. Like, is this when you were out? Did you see that the team needs more on-ball defense from you? XYZ. Do you want to do more of that? And he said, "Yeah, especially because I know they're probably going to be double teaming me anyway, so it's going to be hard for me to hunt shots. So I can affect the game by trying to make it hard on their best player." That sounded to me like a little bit of frustration just peeking through.
It was, dude.
It wasn't Boston level last year.
No.
Frustration with it, but it was like maybe a little frustration with how they were defending him tonight. Is what I'm saying.
You could always see when he's a little frustrated by that, where he like does the little jab step thing and he pretends to go the direction the guy doesn't move, takes a pass, the guy doesn't move. The guy, the help defender's just like, "No, man, I'm here.
I'm here."
You know, it's like Fitch's line. It's like we can't tell him to.
You are the guy that right. We can't tell them not to defend you, right?
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
And so I think there was some of that, dude. I think the good news is though, like the offense isn't the problem right now with this team, like globally.
It's not. No, it's not.
Julius is cooking again. Yep. They made 50% of their threes. They lead the league in 3-point percentage. Like if the Ant does make the right play and the shooting sustains and Julius sustains, defenses will not be able to guard him.
Right. But they can't give up 130 points the other end of the floor.
Exactly.
And that's where this game just fell apart in the third quarter. Another 40-point quarter. I don't have the data at my fingertips, but I wonder how many 40-point quarters they allowed in each of the last two seasons. And it feels like I think they've maybe allowed 3 this year. I think the Lakers might have done it in the first matchup. Denver did it for sure in that game. And tonight the Knicks put up 40 in the third. That just doesn't happen to this team, and it's happening.
I want to dedicate more time to the defense a little bit later, but to your point, the Wolves had a defensive rating tonight of 141.2.
Yeah.
They never had a game last season with a defensive rating over 140. They've already had it twice. They've already done it twice thus far this season, and that was the first LA game, the Luka 49-point game, and then tonight. So yeah, when the bottom falls out with this season's team defensively, it's falling out in a major way. To keep going / closing the loop on Ant a little bit, I wanted to talk about like what was different, like what changed outside of Ant. I mean, there's the one thing to point to is it was smaller minute loads for Jalen Clark and Rob Dillingham. Rob Dillingham put like 5 minutes in the in the first half,
Yep.
and then you look at his thing at the end of the day, and it says 12 minutes, but that was the
Some of it
last
was
6
garbage
minutes of the
time.
game.
Right.
Half of it was garbage
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Clark just played like 5 or 6 minute shifts out there, and Terrence Shannon Jr. didn't
play
in this
tonight,
game.
right? So he wasn't even in the pie tonight.
And Ant only played 29 minutes.
Yeah,
So like,
Dante plays 36 or 30, 36. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, somebody's gonna that's the thing I wrote down. It's like, okay, well, not all of these guys are gonna play. We've seen Bones already be removed from the rotation, and assuming TJ can go on Friday, I do not think you can play TJ, Shannon, Jalen Clark, and Rob Dillingham all in the same.
And to me, Jalen Clark has elevated himself above those two right now, just because of what he brings to the table. And so I think it's between Rob and TJ for those other minutes at this point, and who knows even how many that's going to be.
Well, it's not going to be many,
right?
Even if they choose one of the two between Shannon and Dillingham, it's just this is what's kind of available here, here right now with this group.
The other thing that changed, we were very curious to see what happened to Jaden's usage. 10 shots tonight. 4 for 10, 3 for 5 from 3, which is encouraging. But 10 shots, 13 points. I mean, obviously he was carrying more of an offensive burden when Ant was down, but just 10 shots, that is enough. Is that for how well he's playing?
See, I like
right now, and considering Dante's also playing well.
I mean, he looked good. It looked good. I was like, oh, this fit. This is the Jaden of the last week is playing here. I think that this team just completely lost its way. So I'm not really. It's the kind of the same thing with. I don't think watching this game makes me believe that Jaden McDaniels can't have a bigger usage. This game was weird.
Yeah.
They didn't play well, right? Like,
very true.
It would almost be more concerning to me if they would have played really well and Jaden would have had like 8 shots or something like that. And then I would have been like, okay, so maybe there isn't room in this. I don't think we know yet. And I do believe that Jaden is going to get that opportunity.
Fair.
Finch is going to be drawing that up. He's going to be aggressively looking for it. I mean, Jaden looks so confident to me offensively when he's playing, kind of regardless of how big the usage is. It's only like the only times I would nitpick on Jaden's offense this season are pretty much in the games when he's in foul trouble defensively, and it's the frustration thing kind of spilling over. Right?
Yeah.
Jaden seems bankable to me, and it just has to be. It just has to be with Randall and Edwards and everybody else back healthy. I don't think Finch will allow that to slip away. It feels critical to me to the team.
Agreed. With how well he's been playing, you have to find the same way that Finch was saying, we got to get Dante more shots. I got to get Dante more shots. I think it applies right now with how well Jaden's playing, that you have to make sure that he stays engaged, that he stays a viable weapon on a nightly basis, even if that means calling stuff for him, which he famously said before they never do, right?
Right.
They never call anything for Jaden. But I think because he has shown what he can do on that end of the floor on a consistent basis, you got to call his number a little bit, make sure that he's actively involved.
I get the feeling his teammates want that too.
I think so too. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a bit of a, I don't want to say a reward for the job he does on the defensive end of the floor and the sacrifices that he makes, because he usually expends his energy on the defensive end of the floor and kind of would just stand in the corner for a number of times over the years. But maybe it's time for him to get his due on the offensive end of the floor. That it's becoming, to me, a lot of what happens in the Finch era is because a guy steps up and makes it undeniable that they are, like Naz Reid,
Jared Vanderbilt
2 years ago. Jared Vanderbilt in garbage time.
Yeah.
Was so good that Finch had to play him. 3 years ago, Naz Reid was so good when Cat went out that when Cat came back, they had to keep Naz in the rotation. They had no choice. Right now, to me, Jaden McDaniels on offense is so good that they have to make sure they find a way to keep him at a decent usage level and involved because he is such a viable weapon. He has
I think
proven that.
I think that's a really good point. The
Mhm.
difference, though, is just giving Jaden more minutes does not achieve the goal.
Yeah,
Right? Giving Nas more
and
minutes.
he's so vulnerable to foul trouble too, and that throws him out of rhythm as well, which is a problem there. But yeah, it's got to happen. That's one way in which this team, I think, is changing.
Let's grab a break here. Let you know today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, and I've been seeing screenshots sent to me by many of you about the Prize Picks lineups you've been putting together for Wolves games this season. I know a few of you were obviously on Ant tonight or Cat, and those all sorts of different things in these Wolves games. But this episode is coming out on Thursday morning, so when you check Prize Picks today, you will not see a Wolves game. You will see Thursday night football. And if you are watching Thursday Night Football anyways, put together a Prize Picks lineup for as little as $5. 2 picks I like for this game. We'll see if they are Chris Hine approved.
Oh, let's go. I don't even know who's playing.
I got a pick from the Broncos Raiders.
Raiders. Okay.
Cortland Sutton to have more than 58.5 receiving yards. He only had 1 catch last week, but it is against the Raiders. I was looking at like the Knicks number as well, but I said, okay, Cortland Sutton, give me more than 58.5 receiving yards for him against that Raiders defense, and then give me less than 212.5 passing yards for Geno Smith. I was surprised to see that was like basically the same number as Bo Nix. So that's basically what I'm going off of, is like, I would think Bo Nix would have more passing yards.
Throw more than Geno Smith. Yeah.
Last week the Raiders were throwing it around,
and the Raiders just traded Jacoby Myers, right? So feels like the right call, right?
Like the right side to be on.
Right. I also agree. I think Cortland Sutton's also just a really good football player, and so trust the talent.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that call as well. These are Chris Hine approved picks.
Chris Hine approved.
Yes, you got it.
There's always something going on over at Prize Picks. As a reminder, to put together a lineup at Prize Picks, all you need to do is put 2 or more picks in your lineup. You put up to 6, and then the winnings multiply. And all you also need to do is put in the promo code Dane when you sign up if you do not have an account. If you do that, that helps us out, lets them know that you came from us, but also gives you $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That is prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks app using promo code Dane when you create your account. Chris, I feel like every single episode that we have done of my show this season has had the defense topic come up, and I think we are like we're moving from like yellow to red.
We're orange.
We're orange.
Yeah.
We're orange, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting a little ridiculous. They were 23rd in defense in the league coming into this game tonight. I was just kind of eyeballing the numbers. Like, I think when people check on Thursday, they might be a bottom 5 defense in the league right now. I know this isn't like a fascinating topic because we've been doing the same thing over and over again, talking about when Rudy is on versus when Rudy is off. Is there something else outside of that you're seeing that you can point to other than Rudy being on the floor or Rudy not being on the floor?
Well, I mean, tonight it was the rebounding. Tonight was that whack-a-mole came up and they couldn't hit it back down. And that tends to happen against the Knicks, of course, with Mitchell Robinson.
Remember I asked Finch before the game about it. I was about the non-Rudy defense, and he goes, rebounding has to start with rebounding. And then this game happens. The worst.
Which, listen, sometimes maybe when you get your butt kicked in such a way, maybe that's what jolts you awake for something like that, because it was really, really bad. But their defense has been really bad for 8 games overall, and it hasn't jolted them awake yet. So
it makes you wonder how much is in there to be stirred. You know,
I don't know if this is, can it be just a general malaise of, we know we can be a really good defensive team, so we can turn it on whenever that may be, right? Is there a little bit of that in there? I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a reason, because it's not as if they fell from 1 to 6 to 10, right? Right now it's 1 to 6 to
5 or
25.
something like that.
Yeah. It's like that is not this brand of basketball that they have built over the last 3 seasons. It's stunning, and just asking some of the guys about it tonight post game.
They all cop to it in there.
They all
That's what
cop
they
to it,
brought
but
up.
they cop to it. I mean, they cop to it overall. Like we asked them after the Lakers game in LA. We asked them after the Denver game, and the answers are they tend to be kind of along the same lines. Communication needs to be better. We've heard kind of game plan issues at various times. Finch referenced game plan mistakes in the second half tonight. Dante was talking about he had an interesting quote, good quote. I think it's a spirit thing. It's an energy thing. Everybody's familiar with each other in this locker room. At some point, you just got to go out and do it. You can talk about it until you're blue in the face, but you just got to go out and do it. Right now, we're a sometimes team. We need to be an always team in that regard.
And
that's it right there.
Need is the right word, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like there's not a. It doesn't seem like there's an option.
Yeah. It doesn't right now, because this is the brand that they've built. This is what they hang their hat on. This is what they have built Western Conference Finals runs on. This is in the offense is getting better. The offense is finally in a place where it feels like they can get consistently good offense on a regular basis out of Ant. Julius is in such a great spot. We talked about Jaden. Like the offense is in a very good spot relative to, especially to where it was a year ago. And you think like, okay, so they just play defense the way that they're capable of, this could be a really good team. But then you start wondering if the habits are now ingrained, or if the habits never got ingrained in training camp or anything like that.
But that's what's concerning is it was the thing that they were pointing to in training camp of focusing on, and the non-Rudy minutes Finch brought up as a point of emphasis and things they were going to do differently to make it better. It's not like they've made some massive scheme shift. Yes, we've talked about Nickeil Alexander-Walker no longer being on the team, but it's the Dante thing of like, we need to be an always team with this. And that's what certainly 2 seasons ago was an always team defensively. And last season was a 90%, 80%.
Yeah, most of the time.
And that was good enough for 6th. I don't think this team even needs to be an all the time team to be able to like kind of get through this. But this is every night. And it's when Rudy is off the floor, it is every night.
Do you think with the Rudy non-Rudy stuff, you remember 3 years ago when they would toggle the coverages and it was a nightmare at first? It feels a lot like that. And I don't know if, and this is something maybe we can ask, like, does it massively change the way that they play, the way that the responsibilities, do they massively change that much that they can't get on the same page when Rudy is on versus off?
Well, the toggling thing was specifically a pick and roll coverage. They wanted Rudy back in a drop,
right? And then they wanted
back in a drop,
right?
They wanted to blitz
Carl,
up there, the high wall, the year of the high wall,
right?
So that was a very different thing, and that triggers all this different rotation stuff, the fly around and all that. This team is not blitzing those the same way that team was. Years ago. It's I just think it's like needing to be a group that's like about it, or is it a group that just doesn't have the interior presence? Because even last season they were not good in the non-Rudy minutes. I mean, the Nas and Julius at the 4-5 was bad. I mean, not this much. I wonder. I mean, honestly, I wondered this after the Portland game. The opener. I was like, do they have the necessary personnel in the front court to be able to play competent defense when Rudy's not on the floor? And I'm not. I just think Nas. I'm sorry. I know we had this conversation literally 48 hours ago after the game, but I do think Nas, as he has grown up in the league, has migrated more and more towards a 3 and away from a 5. I mean, he's a 4, but it just, if there was one side stylistically, the way he moves, it seems to be the things he prioritized.
Mhm.
Do you look at Naz Reid this season and go, in the offseason, that guy worked at being a center? No, you don't.
No, but he wasn't. He.
He was going to be a center this year, dude.
That's true.
I mean, a couple years ago, yeah, you could point to
Well, I was saying that's true. This year, yes. Last year, no. Obviously, because they didn't know until 2 days before training camp started that they weren't going to have Cat.
Yeah.
So he was preparing to be a full-time 4, but yeah, this year there's not much of a. You knew kind of what the responsibilities were going to be coming into this year, and yeah, maybe it is just a position thing at the end of the day.
I think too, and I
Mhm.
feel fine saying this because I've praised Julius up and down
Mhm.
for the offense, and I think it's been phenomenal. The defense has been terrible all
Mhm.
season. Rudy on, Rudy off. His defensive, like just the
Yeah.
eye test of it is tough, and the numbers are even worse.
Well, I mean, okay, so
I think it starts with him, man.
it's okay. So I'm going to make the same point that I make with Ant. Like when you exert and listen,
Sure, give you that.
Julius offensive possessions are very labor intensive, right? When
They
he's
hurt, yeah.
yes, right.
I feel that, yeah.
They are very labor intensive. He's backing guys down. He's got the ball in his hands for 10 plus seconds of the shot clock, whatever, right? And so he's expending a lot of energy. And then he gets back. You go back on the other end. You're being put in actions or whatever, and now you got to defend. And yeah, maybe you just don't have the if you're playing video games and you
Yeah.
hit the turbo button, the turbo goes down and it doesn't quite all the way rejuvenate. You got to give it some time. You got to give it a minute to rejuvenate to get it back up there. The turbo meter stays low when he goes back on the defensive end of the floor.
I
It
hear you.
recharges when he walks up on the offensive end.
I think that's what's happening. The
Mhm.
question is that okay? And to Ant
And,
too, to all of
the way
them.
he's playing offense right now,
I guess, yeah.
I mean, that's what they need from him, right? So it's got to be on the other guys defensively right now to pick up the slack, and it's just not happening.
Today's show is brought to you by Storyworth Memoirs, and we are excited to have Storyworth back as a holiday season gift option for your parent or loved ones. So when I was in Chicago a few weeks back for the Wolves Bulls preseason game with my dad, he showed me an old newspaper story that had been written about him back in the 80s. There was a big old picture of him on the cover, which led to a whole story I had no idea existed about my dad. And I bring that up because uncovering those types of stories is the idea behind Storyworth Memoirs. Each week, Storyworth emails a loved one a memory-provoking question that you get to choose. Questions like, what were your favorite toys as a child, or what are you most proud of? And all your loved one needs to do is respond to that email with a story. After a year, Storyworth compiles your loved one's stories and photos into a beautiful keepsake hardcover book. And the photos are printed in vibrant color. It's a treasure your loved one and you will be able to share and revisit for generations. Customers love Storyworth. They've printed over 1 million books and preserved 35 million family stories since their founding 13 years ago. They have over 48,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot. I use Storyworth, and I think you should too. Give your loved ones a unique keepsake you'll all cherish for years. Storyworth Memoirs. Right now, save $10 or more during their holiday sale when you go to storyworth.com/DaneMoore. That's storyworth.com/DaneMoore to save $10 or more on your order. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp, and this November, BetterHelp is encouraging everyone to reach out, check in on friends, reconnect with loved ones, and remind the people in your life that you are there. Just as it can take a little courage to send that message or grab coffee with someone on your team you haven't seen in a while, reaching out for therapy can feel difficult too, but it is worth it. And it's almost always leaves people wondering, why didn't I do this sooner? We know the holiday season isn't easy for everyone, and it's important to stay connected. We're healthier when we have community and when we have support. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is one of the world's largest online therapy platforms, having served over 5 million people globally, and it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/DaneMoore. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DaneMoore. Well, and that's my point of with the Nas thing is like, yeah, then that'd be great if Nas could pick that up, but he isn't. He hasn't been defensively. Nas has not picked up the slack.
Yeah,
this season.
It felt like this was not going to be a good Nas game when he checked in, and I think it was the first possession, offensive foul. Jalen Brunson probably embellished it a little bit, but the call stood anyway, and I was just like, oh man, that's a bad omen. That's a bad omen, especially hometown.
Had vibes,
maybe a lot of juice, and it was like, okay, we're on the lookout for a not great Nas game after that happened, and sure enough, he was a -19 on the night.
Yeah. Related to the defense, and this is actually with Rudy out there, which is yes better. I thought it was interesting that they put him on Josh Hart when he was out there, and they kind of did the leave him open
thing, and
Rudy lurk,
and then Josh Hart hit 4 or 5 threes,
which is like it didn't work. So part of it might have been like, it doesn't make that the wrong game plan, but I think that threw them out of their defensive plan early.
Yeah.
When they were trying to do the Jokic thing with Julius or Nas on Cat, and then Rudy's there to help or is there to help on Brunson. I actually thought some of those things were working. I think part of that was, Finch puts Rudy in that spot when he's not fully trusting of the individual player's ability to slow
guys down one-on-one.
Yes,
right.
And so that could be in this game, a reason the defense was as bad as it was, just because they blew up the Wolves' base defense strategy,
right?
Or one of
with
the
Josh Hart having a great game shooting wise,
and that doesn't make that strategy.
And at the end of the day, you really almost can't adjust to it. You just have to. It's what you've chosen to give up, and if he hits the shots, then you shake his hand and you move on, right? And but overall, I mean, Josh Hart wasn't the reason they lost this game. No. It was the rebounding, which points back to, I think, the rebounding hasn't been a chronic issue this year the way it was a few years ago, but I think it all ties under the umbrella of communication, of that effort, of kind of being in sync with each other, of being a step ahead of the opponent, all those little things that they have been for the last 2 years. Just that's how it manifests a little bit. And I think if you're tying this performance, which was kind of an outlier on the rebounding, together, but it just kind of carries some of the common themes of they just haven't had the same effort, and as Dante said, the same spirit on the defensive end of the floor, and that's what it boils down to. And that's my biggest concern, is I don't know when that spirit returns for this group, especially if they think that they can just turn it on halfway through the season and be fine. I don't know if that switch gets flipped.
Also an outlier in that New York is a very big team.
Right. And they've always been very good the last couple of years at offensive rebound.
And Mitchell Robinson,
like the best in the league.
Awesome offensive rebounder.
It was like
a little ridiculous that he had as many offensive rebounds as any Wolves player had defensive rebounds. I mean, they literally got an offensive rebound on like 48% of their missed shots.
And he only played 16 minutes.
Yeah.
He had 9 offensive rebounds in 16 minutes.
So I am storing that in my mind of really big team that could be a potential issue, going into it. Like, this was rebounding, I do not think has been the primary defensive issue. I think
it's right. It's not
specifically in the non-Rudy minutes, like we said, Finch said before the game.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think this team is, like, by definition, a bad rebounding team. I think Rudy can be a very good rebounder. The guards are coming in and doing it, especially when Julius is giving you something rebounding there. Like, I think they're fine against a normal sized team. If I guess they're playing Utah and Walker Kessler. I don't know how
Walker Kessler was out.
If they were playing a very big team on Friday, I would go into that game thinking that will be a problem. I think that was I think that was a big part of why this one unraveled the way it did. That transitions over a little bit to, I know we're not going to be here all that long, but
we're on a time limit tonight.
We are
by the way, everybody.
Here at Madison Square Garden.
That's right.
I mean, it's a really light schedule here going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And they've looked good against
bad
teams.
Sure.
You could only play the schedule kind of in front of you, but is this, over the next 5 games or so, a lot at home, a lot of easy teams, and if they go on a little bit of a run, is this one of those situations where you go, okay, but we've seen what the Wolves look like against good teams. It's good that they're beating bad teams,
Well,
they beat the Jazz on Friday in Sacramento, whatever.
If ever there was a time to regain your sea legs on the defensive end of the floor,
right? That's a good.
This is it, right? This is to get back to basics and maybe play maybe you play more basic coverages just to try to get back to square one with stuff. You don't have to really maybe game plan stuff out too much for specific guys or specific opponents. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall here.
By the way,
FYI, Utah, Friday's opponent, second best offensive rebounding team in the league.
Okay.
36.8% offensive rebounding rate.
All right.
So maybe a little.
So yeah,
a little bit of a test for the rebounding after tonight as well.
They got size. Mm-hmm. Again, Walker Kessler out for the season.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
They still got other.
Yeah.
I do not think I've watched a full Jazz game this season, but yeah, that's a. Yeah. That's within it's something that this team needs to answer with. Is what they can do against good teams. Versus some bad teams here. I do think one thing we've seen too is that this team does have 3-point shooting to fall back on. And if they would have won this game somehow and this goes in a different direction,
but it's just so remarkable that they shoot 48% from 3-point range and they get trounced.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a close loss. They get trounced.
I'm saying it through the lens of if the defense is better.
Yeah,
like there's enough offense here, and it's not just Ant offense. It's not just Julius offense. It feels like team-wide offense, and I thought the first half was great. It's like every player was just doing one dribble. Okay, I can't go all the way to the basket. Dent the defense, kick it out, and Dante DiVincenzo is punishing that. Jaden looks like a better shooter. Julius looks like a better shooter this season. Mike Conley's almost shooting 50% from 3. Like they do have.
They do
shooting.
Okay, yeah. So, but okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. What if that starts to bottom out or regress right after a hot
There'll be
start?
bad games.
There'll be bad games, bad stretches. But no, to your larger point, Dante feels like he's in a great spot right now offensively. Jaden feels like he's in a great spot offensively. Mike is, after a very rough beginning, seemingly. Getting around. I think he's getting in a better spot. So yeah, it's getting Nas, I think, a little bit back to more consistency as well. So yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I think those are the main areas. I think it will be nice to go home and have some lesser opponents and start maybe stacking a couple here, reincorporate. And I'm not concerned about the team globally. I'm concerned about the team's ability to guard right now.
Sure.
And play smart and not lose this. I mean, turnovers were brutal in this game too. Like, feel good about the fact that you have a good offense and lean more, or find a way to lean more into your defense and remind yourself that Rudy Gobert is a really important part of this team.
If ever there was evidence for the pro Rudy crowd on social media to. Just send them the numbers.
It was going into this game. The defensive rating with Rudy on was 107, and the defensive rating with him off was 142. I mean, that's absolutely that's absolutely
ball game, folks.
We're going to keep this one here a little bit shorter. Chris, I appreciate you doing 2 with me out here in New York. For you listeners, I'll take some time to kind of let these 2 New York games download in my brain. I will get back to Minneapolis, and on Friday, Kyle and I will look back on the week and look forward to the weekend in in that episode, I'll have had time to cut some clips and stuff. I think in my trip out here in New York, we got some good information from players and stuff like that. I think there's plenty to dig into there. You guys can follow Chris, on Twitter at Christopher Hine, everything he does over at the Star Tribune. I hope there's another road trip you and I could do here sometime soon that we'll be able to do some
Your lips to God's ears.
some post-game pods. Again, he's Chris. Until Friday with Kyle. He's Chris. I'm Dane. Peace out.
How I'm feeling, man, I hope it never stop, yeah. Grinning hard so you can find me in the crowd, yeah. Don't let standards ever bring you down, yeah.